Welcome everyone, Asteris here. We're gonna be talking today about a Purifier build, the Inquisitor plus a Demolitionist, a dual pistol, elemental damage with accent on the fire. It was one of the funnest dual wielding pistol build I played. It's a really heavy omped, it's really fun to play, and it's pulling its leg in a lot of situations. Like it's easy to deal with, easy to clear normal monsters, easy to deal to clear with elites. However, it is kind of a bit of a glass cannon at some point when you find in endgame bosses, and it is also the build that have its weaknesses, and its weakness is namely physical resistance and physical damage overall, because we don't have much of armor absorption. I couldn't reach 100% armor absorption, keeping with consistent DPS here. So maybe we actually can go drop like 30k DPS, keep the DPS on 100, and get myself the armor absorption when I need. Right, because we over maximum with piercing resistance here, can replace the silk swatch. But anyway, there's not gonna be solving situation that that much. It still be kind of weak to physical damage overall without with that 9% physical resistance. I even sacrificed some items. I was planning to go for this build initially, like gloves over here, and what was it, gloves? The boots like a physical 5% physical resistance, and the pants giving me another 4% physical resistance. So how the build behave, how to build the build from scratch to hero, how to what kind of monster infrequent to use when leveling up, what kind of end gear, what kind of skills, what kind of devotion for this build. The build stats in general, all of this we're going to be talking right now. And again, welcome Austeris here. You maybe heard me about me, so maybe a couple of my other builds before. So my definition of a build to be good is ability to do everything. By everything I mean easily done a campaign, easily kill all the hidden bosses, and kill the celestial bosses like Mogodren, Kalagadra, and Ravager. That's what I'm talking about, a build to be successful build, a tier 1 build that's easy to play, and that's not about this build. Not about this build, because we just fought the Mogodren, supposedly be the easiest build for the easiest celestial for this build to handle because of overwhelming amount of lightning resistance. But I then done some player mistake. I ruined my tempo because the fight was taking quite a long time, and I just got killed in a thunder attack and into the damage. So like I say, this build is kind of glass cannon with very low health, very low physical damage resistance. Right, it still can handle itself really well, face tanking the elites from the totems, and I'm gonna be showing you how it's behaving in the Shadow Realm after we're done talking about all of the aspects of the builds. So it's not really a bad build, and I really did enjoy it playing it. However, something like a Celestials is hard for him to handle the Celestials and the Secret Balls. I even died to Rashalga twice. We died to Rashalga twice. Again, piercing damage. We don't have much for maximum piercing damage in this. And we also died to Korvac, to third phase of Korvac. When he jump in, we don't have... This build relying on health leech a lot. But when the Korvac jump in and doing like all this meteorite shower at you, you have very low health, very low physical resistance. You get hit once, you can health leech much because he's in air, he's unreachable, and That was a downfall of this build twice in a Korok fight, which was surprising because I didn't have any builds to die to the Korok in a while. Nonetheless, there's a strong points to the builds. There are quite a few. The cleaning speed, the overall DPS, and well, generally, really think this is the most fun of dual wielding pistol I played in a while. Sorry about that, guys. Need some water. I was talking a lot today already. So let's start with the start, right? Let's start with the stats. Offensive ability, defensive ability over here. So offensive ability, we went that high just to have a good crit chance on celestials, with just enough to enable me activation of the deadly aim here, which is broken more. My crit chance, broken my offensive ability even higher and giving me a little bit more DPS. And fighting the Mogodren just now did prove that I was correct with the number. We're critting very often on him. Still, the damage output was a little bit low because a lot of my resistance reduction required for me to stick around in a close range to the enemy fighting, which is not a problem normally against elites, since we can face tank most of them, but you can't really face tank the celestials with this build. On the other hand, the stuff I'm not satisfied with my defensive ability. I think we went overboard with here. This stats could be go into spirit, right? Depend a lot of points into physique here. Again, most of my builds put in the points into physique anyway, because we're playing the builds on ultimate difficulty only, and this could be something you can play with, right? We have some Purifier 70 defensive ability over here with the powder on my amulet, and you can remove that one for in order to get more stun resistance for Mogodren fight. There is this stun resistance powder from over here faction. Where it is. This one, reduction stun resistance given rings and amulets, 8%. So we can get. I wasn't feeling that, you know, in disadvantage with my stun resistance when we fight Mogodren. It was 45%. It still was enough, but you just need to be very cautious about the fight itself, where you're fighting, how you move it around the Mogodren in order to get sundered. And my concentration at some point did sleep and we died. So the damage DPS over here, like you see, 136k. It's not definitely not the highest damage DPS build we had ever. And we had a comparison with this build to Iserai build, which Iserai have twice over the DPS and better survivability, despite it being like mage. We have a comparison yesterday in Shatter Realm. Armor piercing, armor in general. I mean, armor absorption not good enough, 87%, and armor in general not good enough. We do have some resistances here over the maximum. Alright, like lightning resistance, a lot of our maximum, but vitality and bleeding resistance just in good numbers to fight Ravager. I think Ravager will be manageable with this build because how it's a range build, and it's still gonna take a lot of time to kill him. Maybe even more time than killing Mogodren, which is like more or less a Mogodren I could face tank, but Ravager would not be able to face tank. And as the stats we have to check out our fire strike damage. Mostly it's a fire damage with some lightning. Originally I planned this build to be fire and lightning damage with 4 pieces of Dalgan's destruction set. Another pistol here is a lightning, but we took a devil tank pistol, which is proved me to be a little bit better in for like, you know, normal cleaning speed and stuff. Attack speed for the build 183%, didn't reach 200, but it's just really decent enough. And the damage fire modifier 2600%, and okay, yeah, 26 and 54 even. Same goes for lightning. Same goes for lightning. And now the thing with talk about physical resistance, just not good enough here. Good enough freeze resistance, good enough slow resistance, and reflecting resistance 55%. We didn't have any problem with reflecting damage in the end game for this build. There was a slightly problem in the mid game when we have only like 20 something resistance reflection from a constellation, right? And we did, well, slightly problem. It's not enough to kill me, problem. But yeah, we did have a problem there. So the total damage dealt is 160k, almost 61. Not really that great. Not really that great, but I didn't expect that much of the highest damage dealt with dual pistol setup. That number was a little bit surprising for me. So, like I said, the cleaning speed over here, as good as cleaning speed on my Easter egg build, which has had twice more DPS. It's just like all of these bullets spread and have a better range, better range and better, you know, radius of that where they can reach enemies. All right. Compared to my Force Wave build, compared to Israel build that had like very narrow, well, beams or very short range, right? This one has extensively long range and radius for when you start shooting. So the cleaning speed was comparing those Force Wave build and Israel builds. Next thing to talk about, gear and skill rotation and skill in general. So our main skill here is a Fire Strike. It's our to attack skill. We have Elemental Storm on it, which is giving me 32 flat resistance reduction, right? And in conjunction with Hour of Sanger, which is minus 25 elemental resistance, and Thermite Mines, which is another minus 27 elemental resistance. This is where, like, how we are reducing the resistances from Celestials, right? But it's have its shortcomings. Both of those Thermite Mines, you need to for the enemy not to move, so that them to stay in this Thermite Mines and to stay in them in Fire Strike, which is kind of hard to do when it's not counting. Give me a sec. Build, right? So what we are saying, the shortcoming of this, and also with Hour of Century, you actually need to stay in a 7-meter radius for this minus 25% of elemental resistance to apply to enemies. So greatly limit your option of kiting Celestials. That was one of the problem too. While we didn't have the great damage output on a Mogul Ran, because the moment I get in like away from the 7-meter radius, my Hour of Century not working, he moving away from Thermite Mines, he moving away from my Elemental Storm, and all of this resistance reduction not really doing that much to him in the end, and yeah, meaning not much of damage. We also did use a Cursed Tincture here for additional minus 8 elemental resistance. So basically how we're playing, we just like shooting everything with my Fire Strike, put in the Elemental Storm, put in my normal playthrough, put in my Inquisitor Seals, which is also giving me a little bit of more damage, right? Staying Inquisitor Seals giving me 138 k, so like 3k damage, not much, but it's also giving me some damage absorption as well. And we put in the Thermite Mines under the belly of my enemies. For some fast heal, we have the Word of Renewal is also giving me some buffs, like a little bit buff to health and buff to my EC resistance, so you always want to keep that up every time. We also have another thing we didn't talk about is survivability of this build is provided by a health leech, right? And we have life leech of 11% over here, coming from Constellation, coming from Restless Remains, and coming from what else is coming from? From something else. We're gonna get to the bottom of it. Alright. Yeah, the Bane, the relic. Never mind. We also have additional life leash of 6% from Hunger Oil, but honestly, like, even 8% for this build was enough of life leech to go through everything, except, like, you know, final Celestials and final bosses here, without, like, you know, dying, I mean. Right, so gear, how do we achieve that? What's the optimal gear for this build? We're starting with the set I'm using for it. There's actually 2 sets I'm using for this build. One of this, Dalgan Destruction, which is giving taking 3 pieces of the set. 3 pieces giving it a more Fire Strike, more attack speed, and my Fire Strike and hard cap of 22 over here, which is, yeah, 22. And so this one got you really easy to get if you have a recipe. We actually got a recipe only at the very end of this session of the build, and we crafted helmet, we crafted a pistol, we crafted the breastplate here for 3 pieces. We have Titan Platins on the breastplate for reflecting damage reduction. We have the Seal of Destruction on my pistols, and I'm using Melmoth Souls as a powder of both. But for the second pistol, I'm using a Mystical Devil Tongue here, which is giving +1 to skills in Demolitionist, more attack speed. I deem it better than Lightning Pistol overall. I deem it better to have this one. Right, also Melmoth Souls Powder and Seal of Destruction. Another piece of the set we're using is Ulzin Infernal Avatar for additional 2 pieces, 120 fire damage on the shoulder guards. We're using Living Armor here, and Living Armor, by the way, on a helmet. And we also have Heart of the Ulzin for that maximum elemental resistance and offensive ability, right? So this will take to reach the 3200 offensive ability, using Blood Crystal on all my Javelries for more defensive option. Alright, more bleeding resistance, that what they do. Also, there's another set of the Javelers here, the Rings, Elemental Harmony. It's also a craftable set. All of those set are craftable, so you need to craft helmet for Dalgan Destruction and helmet for Uzurin shoulder guards, and then you transmute them via transmutation option in Inventor guy, right? Either using Crucible Inventor or completed a quest in Forgotten Ghosts DLC and getting access to the transmutation there. So we can transmute them to the part of the set you need after that. So I did craft it through helmet because it's solo self-found build, and we crafted 2 helmets here for this build. Anyway, there are rings here with a Fire Strike +2 and some more offensive ability for me. So those rings potentially gonna be very good and very easy to craft. But there are some rings that could be better than some fire rings. The Magi rings from Court of Magi in Skeleton Key Dungeon, the Tomb of Mogoneth in Forgotten Ghosts DLC. There are some rings that could be potentially more DPS, giving more DPS for you. We also have the Mystical Uzin Torment Belt over here. And for a more vitality resistance, we have Mark of Ulzin as well. That's for relic we're using Bane. It's basically the best relic for this build. Elemental damage, fire flat, attack damage converted to health, and more offensive ability with attack speed and casting speed +1 to Inquisitor skills. Pants, Eastern Leg Guards, Silk Swatch instead of +20 to armor absorption, which is I think you can play with this, and I think you can play with the gloves as well. There's a Wyvern Bone Gloves. I wanted to craft it, but because of easy resistance that we're gonna be losing by crafting those, we're keeping this gloves, which is basically the worst item in the build. And finally, the boots we're using the Storm Bearers, again for my vitality resistance. Mostly, it's not really that much of old optimal boots, but they doing the job, right? There was alternatively there was the Worm Scale boots, I believe. The Worm Scale boots, right? There was a bunch of alternative pants over here. We were considering a bunch of alternative medals as well. That's actually the same medal. And
hold on to that for you.
I'm gonna be talking about monster frequent. We're gonna be using it for level up, or you can use instead of those medals or gear we can currently using. So first and foremost, there is this Camelin badge you can buy from the vendor near the Blood Grove. Alright, and this is a good alternative for the Ulzim one, especially if you roll with a good affix for it. So we're gonna go for the Blood Grove. There is that vendor over here. There's a vendor. Right, you can see over here. It's a kind of secret one. Need to go around the breach. You see my cleaning speed is just like destroy those guys in a second. We're gonna be getting to that in Shadow Realms very soon. But yeah, the vendor, you can get the Camelin badge from him, and I really was running it until the end, until very end, because I wanted to more of vitality resistance for my fight with the Ravager here, right? Getting over maximum more, but you can totally run with a Camelin badge, depending, like I say, what kind of affixes you get. Some of them actually can also can get you vitality resistance.
Put it to good use.
This build was very easy build to level up on ultimate difficulty. It's one of those super good builds on pair with Force Wave build and on pair with Issa Rae build. So how do we start the game? How we playing this game? We only play it on ultimate difficulty, which just mean it's having like all the own challenges, like super low resistances, not ability to have reputation items, fast ability to get this powders, and leading to your death in the process. But this build was very easy to handle a lot of situations. Most of the problem in leveling up on ultimate difficulty, you just don't have enough DPS to erase everything before it's erase you. Which just wasn't the case for this guy. So there's a bunch of items you also can craft, that is if you have a recipe. It's definitely not a build you can start with being a beginner, because you need to find this recipe, but there's for beginner you can find this Francis gun in the first area, right? You have a Tour of Zeus, and they provided you up until level 15, and the level 15 you can craft a Diffel Gran, double barrel pistol over here, +2 to fire strike, and then you encourage you to craft those. On level 37 you can craft a hand mortar gun, and on level 62 you can craft a sharpener pistol, which is we're using up until the end game, until level 94, when you switch it to the set, right? All those pistols over here, you can see we were using flintcore bolts on them as well, right? Another craftable you can have is a chosen waist guard, right? And chosen griddle. It's a reputation belt you can get from what kind of faction you can actually get it from it? Is it
Come see what's left
those
of
guys
my
here?
wares.
Oh yes, this is Devil's Griddles. One of the reputation faction, right? So it is Demolitionist belts. Demolitionist belts like chosen chord, and oh, like it's a Camelin chosen. It's a Camelin chosen faction, is it? I think it's Camelin chosen faction. You can get it from. We were aligning myself into the Camelin chosen faction of this build. So that's another thing you can craft early on. I saw there's level 35 for this build, and it's helping you leveling up. I also was using like Annihilation as a relic before I realized it's actually realized thanks to Chartered Bane, it's actually better level 60 relic. There's a good relics to craft for this build as well earlier on. And another thing about medal over here, you can have a monster infrequent like Urapsarax Stink, right? +1 to Inquisitor, and some fire and elemental damage depending on what you can get as an affixes. So, early on you can get Shambler's Heart as well. It's giving you that offensive ability to your Flame Strike, and we did actually struggle, or as I say, we didn't struggle in the mid game, considering our offensive ability because of that Shambler's Heart providing this 8% offensive ability. It's also some a little bit of physical damage to Flame Touch, but it's questionable if you need it on elemental damage build. Definitely it will be a boost on normal difficulty if you're playing, but it wasn't that great on it was still damaged. But not as great on ultimate difficulty for leveling up. So we have incendiary shoulder pads, right, and incendiary helmet of cask that drop in from Arsonist in Crony Gang. And that's like something I was running, this helmet I was running up until end game. So I encourage you to get those 2 items as well, gonna be helping you in your build as well early on. And there's a good Gunslinger Jacket, which is basically also the item for mid-game, but it's something you need to actually farm for it. It's giving you offensive ability, it's giving you Flame Touch bonus, and overall I think it was a good item to have on the build. That's what to consider a monster infrequent and how to level up the build using those monster infrequent and craftable items, right? But for craftable items, unfortunately, you can't. If you are new to the game, you probably will not have the recipe for this guns I show you, and that will be making this a little bit harder to deal with. A little bit harder to deal. You still can use the monster infrequent for leveling up, like the cask and incendiary shoulders, which is easy to help to find, and heart, Shambler's Heart, or the string over here, and then the Camelin badge. But when it comes to coming to the guns, you do need to have a recipe before you consider to start this build. That's all about the gear. Let's check out the skills we have here. So Inquisitor Demolitionist was my main, or rather there is no actual main mastery for this build. More or less every mastery was contributing equally. Right, Demolitionist, we have the main skill here, Fire Strike, and Flame Touch was giving me that offensive and defensive ability, and the Flame Shield, Blast Shield, a little bit of survivability when it's come. There's also Sermon Mines and more attack speed with Vindictive Flames and Sync. Inquisitor ranged expertise, that's the skill you need at least 1 point at the beginning to enable your dual wield. And we have a Word of Renewal, which is helping with health restoration, emergency health gain when you run out of flask charges. And there's resistances to Ether and Chaos, and overall defensive ability. We also utilize the burst rounds and chilling rounds. We didn't go for Storm Spread because I think it's a waste of skill points. So Storm Spread bullets have a very short range, and if you want to proc some skills, you want to proc it is a bursting round or chilling rounds, which is helping your build way more than Storm Spread will do. Hours of Censure here for minus elemental resistance in a 7-meter radius, and we have a little bit points into Inquisitor Seals for that boost of damage 3k DPS. It didn't done that much. I wish I can max it out Inquisitor Seal, but I just run out of the points we can use. Deadly Aim also was helping for celestial fights, but you don't really need it in normal fights. That's my own honest opinion. So maybe can put points from Deadly Aim into Arcane Empowerment here, and Inquisitor Seal is going to be helping you use a normal game more than the Deadly Aim. You still want to have like some points in the Deadly Aim, like 1 point or 2 point, well 1 point at least, right, for the bonus percentage chance to crit. But like you say, we already have a lot of critical offensive ability, critical chance with this offensive ability, despite, like, you know, without a proc of a Deadly Aim. We just like say when we proc a Deadly Aim, we're gonna be reaching how much? 3700, right? That's more than enough to deal with Celestials there, even overkill. But we do need that 3200 to actually proc the Deadly Aim and have this good, well, offensive ability on the Celestials. Alright, right, we did talk about belt having on the Bok Leather. We didn't have any powders on the belts. You can play it with increasing my piercing resistance. Should probably done it before going to a Shalga. And die into her piercing damage. Next, devotions. 3 basic devotion you need for the build at the beginning is a candle, quill going into a Rovari Crown for that elemental storm. We also have a crab for Arcane Barrier. We also have Magi, not finished. We had Griffon, alright, with his glare. And most another important devotion here is Hydra, with that 5% attack damage converted to health and overall damage and maximum like movement speeds. So we do benefit greatly from Hydra. On the mid game, we pick up the Chariot of the Dead. I'm greatly enjoying those devotions as of late, and put in all my ultimate difficulty builds. It's very good for leveling up through the mid game, providing you that additional survivability and offensive ability. Alright, survivability we are Wayward Soul and a Chariot of the Dead 4% and some offensive ability over here. So yeah, that's one of the mandatory devotions for a lot of my builds. We did use a Crane devotion here and a Cherry devotion, a Throne devotion, Constellation, or as I say. I usually use also Crane, became one of my favorite constellations for mid-game, early game for leveling up on Ultimate, but I usually replace it with other devotion late game. This time around we didn't. Just provided me that damage reflection, damage reduction, and all of these resistances we actually did need. Same goes to the chair with a stun resistance reduction 25, so we just keep it as fire. There's a Hawk constellation over here, which is I was putting points into here, min-maxing my build, but consider to put these points actually something that give you more survivability. I took these 3 points from my Crossroads. Maybe keeping them in Crossroads was better in terms of at least giving this 5% to health boost. Alright, so we need to keep like some survivability there. Maybe something for physical resistance, like put that those points into Lion instead, giving you damage and physical resistance. Same goes with Jackal, right, to physical resistance, but offensive ability here and total speed. So this could be better maybe than a Hawk. Not maybe, it's probably will be better. That's a constellation, that's a gear, that's the leveling up more or less covered. Right, I'm gonna be showing you quick excursions through the Shattered Realm of tier 50, which will be challenging for this build. Which actually will be challenging for the build. And you know what? You're gonna be seeing this in a moment why.
Got any more scrap metal?
So we're gonna be crafting this waste stone over here. Is the right one? 50 to 60. Gonna be crafting it.
The Shattered Realm span.
Before we begin, offer the stone, jump into level 50 realm, yeah. But also the cleaning speed of the build, the survivability should be enough as long as you're not running into anything unreasonable as nemesis or a couple of them at the same time. You see, killing them in seconds, like I say, the spread of the bullets is really good, so we don't need to aim with a narrow with a narrow beam as either ray or as the force wave. The bullets more or less like reaching everything here. Okay, killing this a little bit slower than I imagined it'll be. Where are we going? Where are we going? Oh my god. Wrong way, a little bit of wrong way. Also, the crits are not that big. You see like 70k, 60k, 50k crits per shot from time to time. It's definitely not as like 200k that we had on my force wave builds or on my Israel builds. But nonetheless, the build was very satisfying to play, and partially because I like the interaction of we have with having a dual wield guns, right? The shooting people seems fun, well, in game at least. All right. So if you're looking for that good dual pistol build, I do encourage you to check it out, this one. And we did have another build on YouTube, Infiltrator dual pistol build, but that build was like way harder to build and way well, harder to play also. Okay, so there's this Nemesis over here. You see we're already having problem against him because of physical damage. So we can't really face tank the Nemesis here. Need to be extremely careful and kiting him and his kill me. Yeah, so there you see when it's coming to physical damage, it is also player skills as well. Need to take into consideration, but we have this trouble facing anything that doing a lot of physical damage to begin with. Alright, so he didn't have a chance to crit me, but his physical damage and was more than I can handle. That will be all for conclusion for this build. I think like I said everything I wanted to say. It's up to you guys to decide if you want to play it, if you want to have fun with the build, or you want to something more resilient, something more, well, something better, which is like I recommended is a array build we had. Also you can find it on my YouTube channel, or previous build we had Force Wave Tremor build, which is like was way more tanky and way better in survivability, way better on damage, and way better in killing Celestial as well. That's all for YouTube. That's all for YouTube.